just wait a couple of seconds just to make sure that I definitely am live. Yes, I am. Hello everybody, and welcome back to MUFC MPB here on YouTube. My name is Brooks, and today is Thursday the 5th of December. Right, I am just going to get straight into it because there isn't as much time. Well, we don't have an hour basically, as I have stuff to do. And I just want to say, well played, Tony, you know what? Well played, Tony Pulis, rocking up to the Emirates with a 2010 Stoke City side. They might as well have had Rory Delap on the pitch. What I will say about the match last night is there are a lot of positives that we can take from a 2-0 loss against Arsenal at the Emirates. Season number 5, I think, for Mikel Arteta against game number 4 for Ruben Amorim. We definitely played better than I think a lot of people expected us to play at the Emirates, especially in the first half. I wouldn't say we were all over them because we weren't really, but in relative terms, it looked fluid, it looked compact, and it looked like we actually knew what we were doing. It didn't essentially look like we just rocked up to the Emirates without a Scooby in our head. And we gave them a good game. Unfortunately for Arsenal, all jokes aside, you know, the Tony Pulis Stoke City jokes, they're funny, but at the end of the day, all we can do is praise them for the effectiveness of their set piece taking. It got to the point where Arsenal fans were cheering corners, and you could see they weren't necessarily playing for corners because, you know, if you shoot, you want to score. To them, great if it goes out for a corner because they are so dangerous. Hi, why? But it did seem as if they were playing for corners, and honest to God, every time they got a corner, I thought, oh my God, we're about to concede here because they are so effective. And if honestly that's the reason we lost, and it was, if they didn't score those corners, you know, they wouldn't have won. But it is just frustrating because with all of the work that we put in, the changes that we made, another positive as well being the Lenny Yoro cameo. That right centre-back position, it looks like it's going to be sorted for a very, very long time, by the way. Ronnie Dodge says, morning, I'm not angry. We're frustrated then. We played our style. We had no Martinez, but at the end of the day, fair play Arsenal, but they still won't win the league. And this is the thing. I know, you know, Manchester United versus Arsenal has always been a big match in the Premier League. But right now, and I've said this countless times, Arsenal lost their opportunity to win the league in the last 2 years. They should have won it a couple of years ago, and they definitely should have won it last year. And now they're in a position where they're beating all of these teams, but they're still not going to win the league. Yeah, we're going to get a lot of criticism from Arsenal fans online saying, oh yeah, rubbish, Ruben Amorim's rubbish, I've seen it, blah, blah, blah. All of the usual nonsense. But what we can say to them is, mate, you just won by corners. Your set-piece coach might as well be Mikel Arteta. Your set-piece coach is the reason you guys are doing so well. When are Arsenal going to score an open play goal? Now, this doesn't mean that Ruben Amorim's completely off the hook, because I don't think he is. I know we played well in the first... Oh, by the way, I called it. Mount started and he had a good game. But the amount of changes in the team after the demolition of Everton, I think just didn't work. Rashford's cameo wasn't too good. He looked interested, but also looked a bit disinterested in the game. There was a couple of... I remember one instance near the end of the match. Jorginho was getting pressed by Anthony. I believe Xerxes was cutting off a ball, and Rashford was on the left. He just turned. Like, it's not even like he did a Cruyff turn. In Jorginho fashion, he just turned like this. Just turned. And I swear to God, that was how fast he turned. And I thought, where... I know it's the 88th minute or something, but where is the application, man? And it did look like nearer the end of the match, Manchester United... Look, I know that in the 88th minute against Arsenal, you're probably not going to score 2 goals, but at least have for me, the enthusiasm. And this isn't me saying, oh, we're slipping back, you know, Leopards don't change their spots or anything like that, but that is something that Ruben Amorim is definitely going to have to address, because Manchester United genuinely do go until the full-time whistle, and even after the full-time whistle, as we saw against Brighton a couple of seasons ago. I think there are a lot of positives to take out of the match. There were a few good performances, more specifically Lenny Yoro. I actually think Andre Onana had a good game as well. Obviously the corners, you know, what can you do? But Højlund, I don't know. I think it was the right call starting him because of his physical profile and because of the defenders that he was up against. You're going to need pace, you're going to need strength, you're going to need those channel runs, but it just didn't really seem to work. I'm not sure what happened at half-time. I know Ahmad came on, but I'm talking about in the dressing room, because in the second half, it looked like we did just drop off a little bit, and it was instantly noticeable for me, and I'm sure it was instantly noticeable for many of you guys that were watching. But it is a frustrating result, and it is something that none of us actually predicted, a 2-0 whitewash. Goals coming straight from corners. Yeah, that's another thing as well. I completely forgot about Manu Ugarte. But, I'm sorry. I'm actually going to take credit for not predicting the starting lineup, but for being right on some of my calls. Mount started, Bruno dropped back next to Manu Ugarte, and they completely nullified the Arsenal midfield in the first half. I didn't forget Odegaard was playing, but I didn't even see him on the pitch a lot of the time. He was getting pressed, he was getting tackled, and he just didn't look like he was able to produce what he's usually able to produce. He was getting drowned out almost every single time he got the ball, and that is a massive positive that we can take from the game. You're playing against what a lot of people say is the best attacking midfielder in the league, you know, because De Bruyne picking up a lot of injuries, etc., etc., and we completely drowned him out of the game. So I'm pleased with that. I know they'll be pleased with that, and I'm pretty sure AMORIM will have taken note of that, because, you know, putting Bruno Fernandes next to Ugarte as a pairing in the midfield against a trio in the midfield might seem a little bit difficult, but in the first half it did pay off. But I do just want to get some of your thoughts on the game last night, because, as I said, there are a lot of positives to take out of the game. But as you think about that, I'm just going to take you through a few stats. Lenny Yoro's Manchester United debut by numbers. So this is the cameo last night. 100% of his aerial duels won, 86% pass accuracy, 75% of ground duels won, 4 tackles attempted, 3 tackles won, 2 passes into the final third, and 2 clearances. Sorry, I'm still ill, so I need to keep hydrated. What, health is wealth, you know? As I said right at the beginning of the stream, that right centre-back position is going to be nailed down within a couple of weeks. It's no wonder that Real Madrid were trying to get Lenny Yoro, but we genuinely have, I think, not got a generational talent at the back, but something close. The potential is there. We just have to hope that he's not going to become an injury-prone player or become a Luke Shaw 2.0. And, you know, in an ideal world, he doesn't get injured ever again in his career and he can just kick on at Manchester United, because he's got the pace, he's got the height, he's got the bravery, and it seems like he's got the defensive awareness and the nous to know when to put in a challenge, to know when to not put in a challenge, to keep players at bay. I think he was playing against Trossard directly last night, and you know, Trossard is a very good winger. He's one of the better wingers in the league, and he's been producing for Arsenal. But Lenny Yoro definitely did keep him quiet. Ronnie says, I saw more progress from this team than I did from 2 years under Eric Ten Hag. Well, Eric, trust the process. And Ruben, 100% trust the process. I'm not going to have any Ruben Amorim slander. He almost essentially called it with the, you know, there are going to be rough patches or whatever he said. We probably will lose games, and that is a game we did lose. We definitely didn't go into that game as favourites. I think in terms of the shock factor, if we were able to leave the Emirates with a result, then yeah, sweet, brilliant. Maybe we might be further ahead than we were, but even if we did leave the Emirates with a result, we would have had to take that with a pinch of salt, because again, he is only 4 games in, and he did take Arteta. He was on the way to driving Arteta back to school in the first half, but in the second half, Arteta took over the wheel and showed us that, listen, I'm going to win by any means necessary, and if that means that I'm going to have to swing corners in, then so be it. That, honestly, is the only frustration for me. But if you are frustrated, guess what? the transfer window opens in 27 days. Does that mean we'll be signing anybody in January? I don't know. I hope so, because there are a few positions on the pitch that we do need to fill. I think last night showed us that we are still lacking in some areas, with Lisandro Martinez out and Kobe Mainoo out. Obviously, we had decent replacements in Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes. But really, do we want to see Harry Maguire coming in for a game at the Emirates? I know we had a half-decent game, or do we want to have someone else with more quality coming in? Do we want to make Bruno play centre midfield because someone's suspended, or do we want to have him in the position that he's most effective on the pitch, which I think is the number 10 position? January will help us figure those things out, and potentially will bring somebody in. I just do want to carry on speaking about the Arsenal game, by the way, because I do have some comments from Ruben Amorim, Dimitar Berbatov, and Roberto Martinez. I'm going to start with the more jovial one from Dimitar Berbatov. Arsenal are the new Stoke City. They really did, I want to say the stat off the top of my head, but Arsenal in the last 53 games, it's either 27 or 29. They've either scored 27 or 29 goals from set pieces in the last 53 games, which is astronomical. On average, a goal every other game from a set piece. 2 in one game. It probably would have been even worse if Gabriel was on the pitch, their chief corner scorer. But for our sake or our luck, he wasn't. Roberto Martinez then went on to say, "We all suffered Stoke. I think it's a great credit to remember Tony Pulis." And I think it is, but I think it's an even greater credit to actually acknowledge and appreciate, from Arsenal fans, their set piece coach. I don't know what he's doing in training. I don't know, I can't remember his name. Ronnie says, "I think Lenny will have that right centre-back role. Then I would move Mazraoui to right wing-back or left wing-back and move Ahmad to one of the 10s. And hopefully that is the plan. Hopefully that's what's going to happen, because I think Ahmad in the 10 position, even though he's absolutely excelling in the right wing-back position, would be genuinely brilliant in a number 10 position, given his quality on the ball, given his first touch, which is obviously very important, especially if you're playing in between the lines. And he's one of the most selfless players I've seen in a long time at Manchester United. We've got a lot of players at the club who might get into an attacking position and have tunnel vision for the goal. That's not a bad thing, because it does result in goals a few times. But at the same time, what they will always say, what coaches will always tell you, if there's someone in a better position to score a simple goal, let them score the simple goal. Don't think, I'm going to wrap it top bins every single time, because more often than not, you're not. It's not going to happen. But let me get your thoughts on what you think about, what you thought about the starting lineup, because there were wholesale changes. We saw, obviously, the 2 suspensions, so I'm not going to count them. But Garnacho, I don't know. I don't know if he should have started the game against Arsenal last night. I don't think he had the best game, to be honest with you. I think that might have been a mistake on Ruben Amorim's behalf. I know rotation is something which he does utilise, and we have seen that in his short time at Manchester United, but I think that might have been the wrong call. I would have preferred to see Marcus Rashford start. I know he didn't have the best cameo, but you never know how he's going to perform. So I definitely would have started Marcus Rashford, because Arsenal is one of the teams which he usually does perform against. He likes to score a goal at Old Trafford. He likes to score a goal at the Emirates against Arsenal. So that would have been my main criticism of Ruben Amorim, not starting Marcus Rashford. I probably, even though I think that starting Højlund, it wasn't a mistake, in terms of on paper, it probably was the right option. But I would have probably kept more or less as much as you can of the same team that we played against Everton on the weekend. I think regardless of who the opponent is, a 4-0 win is a 4-0 win. A 4-0 win with the momentum and the confidence that the players would have built, gelling together, I guess. I think we should have kept more or less the same players. I genuinely think Ahmad should have started on the right. He gave Zinchenko a tough time when he did come on. Yes, of course, Bruno Fernandes should have been deployed in the centre midfield next to Ugarte, but I think the two attacking midfielders should have been, Mason Mount and Joshua Zirkzee. However, on the other hand, I think we could have played Ahmad in the 10. I think we could have played Ahmad in the 10 next to Zirkzee or Mason Mount and had Rashford up front. Put Ahmad at right wing back and, you know what, throw him in the deep end and start Lenny Yoro. He's obviously not injured. I hope he's at 100%. But I probably would have started Lenny Yoro against Arsenal last night because he did have a very good performance. I know you disagreed with me on this, but Bruno can't play centre mid next to Agate. Amorim wants United to keep possession, but that's not Bruno's strength. Yes and no. I think Bruno definitely in the first half had a good game against Agate next to Agate, kept Arsenal's midfield at bay. But I was watching the game, I was talking to my friend at the same time, and I said a couple of things about Bruno. When the game started to slip away from us after the first or second goal, what we started to see from Bruno Fernandes was almost the Bruno Fernandes from a few months ago. He was trying the long balls. They were coming off a couple times, you know, switching the play and etc. But it almost felt like he put the Green Goblin mask back on, and the mask was saying to him, long balls, hero ball. That's what it almost seemed like. Even though he wasn't every single time he got the ball spraying it. Instead of, I'll compare it directly to the first half. In the first half, when Bruno got the ball, it was the simple passes, it was the simple progressive passes, and he wasn't looking for those long balls. But in the second half, when he got the ball, I noticed the first thing that he was doing was lifting up his head, but not for these players here, but it was for those players all the way over there. And I could see it. I think everybody could see it. And that's not something which we need. So, of course, I would have Bruno Fernandes in the number 10 position, ideally next to Diallo, that in a dream world. But I do think when it comes to it, when it's needed, Bruno Fernandes can play next to Agate. I probably wouldn't have that as my starting, because obviously I'd want to put Mainu next to Agate, because Mainu is our chief playmaker from the deep positions. I still definitely want to try Mainu in the 10. But I do just want to go over a quote from Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim on what he hopes to improve by the time Manchester United face Arsenal again in January. Set pieces. Ha ha ha. That is important, and we have to be aggressive in the opponent's box. We have a lot of areas to improve. And he's right there as well. There were enough chances in the game for someone to fire the ball in, put a low cross in, whip it in, float across in for Rasmus Højlund, because he is an aerial threat. He is an aerial presence. He's not big for nothing, but we just didn't seem to do that at all. I did get frustrated with Bruno in the second half with the stupid passes and end up losing the ball. Yeah, so did I. I also do not want to see Anthony. Anthony, man. Anthony. It's nothing against him. It's such a shame, because when we signed him, there was excitement and there was like, wow, this guy's gonna come in and actually be a good proper right winger for us. I just don't think he's good enough for Manchester United, and it's gone past the point where he's just not confident or he's out of form. I think at his top level, still, he's just not good enough for Manchester United. Maybe it was nerves last night. Maybe it was the pressure of a new manager coming in and him wanting to make a good impression on himself. But there were a couple of instances where he got the ball and he just couldn't control the ball. I don't care if the ball gets fired into you. I don't care if you have a man on you. Regardless of the situation, you always should be able to control the ball, especially for... I don't know what position he was playing. It must have been in the 10 or something. It must have been, because he was very central when he was on. He always plays like that for years. Even some pundits say that he prefers Hollywood passes, which means risky fancy passes. Yeah, that is Bruno's game. And for a few years at Manchester United and at Sporting, it was effective. Like, we can't deny the quality that he does possess, and we can't, ignore the goal contributions he has for Manchester United. I think in this system, if he wants to be doing that, he's going to have to be playing in the 10 position, and he's going to have to be playing a very specific sort of risky pass. Well, not even risky pass, but Hollywood passes. It would have to be the switches to a running Ahmad, or if he's on the other side, to whoever the left-sided midfielder is. I think in those instances, yeah, it would work, but last night it just didn't work in the second half for him. I like Marcus and Bruno, but I don't see them surviving this rebuild. Marcus walked away when players clapped the fans. Not a good look. I don't even want to say I don't know what's going on with Marcus Rashford, because I don't, and I don't think there might even be anything going on. But he did look a little bit disinterested. And I love Marcus. I love Marcus Rashford, and I know the quality he does possess. He is one of Manchester United's better players in the squad. He's a top scorer. He has all the credibility behind him. But it does get frustrating sometimes for me. And I know a lot of you, it does get frustrating as well, because, you know, sometimes it just look like he can't be asked. Especially with the press. There was even a couple of instances last night where a player went past him. He almost didn't track back, and then it's almost like something in his head went, "Oh shit, I have to track back," and then he kind of tracked back. It shouldn't be like that. It should be someone gets past you or you lose the ball, you do your best to win the ball back, and then when the opportunity comes, then you pass that man on to someone else or the defender or whatever. But it just didn't seem like that last night, and it was very frustrating. I said at the beginning of the stream, before a few of you guys joined, that this will be a shorter stream because well, it was late because I was in a meeting, and I do have another meeting in about 10 minutes, so I will have to cut the stream short. So apologies for that, but you know, duty does call, and as I always say, I do have a job. So I do just want to let you guys know that. Apologies, but you know, I'm a busy man. Yeah, I said I wouldn't be upset if we lost against Arsenal, but I'm not gonna lie, I did feel a bit upset because of the way we lost. Nubis says, only 4 games into Amorim's era, Rashford already started to show his true colours. If PSG come call him, better sell him. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. Because it has to be a suitable offer, and it can't be at the wrong time. It could, look, let's say, for example, PSG come in January for Marcus Rashford and they want to pay 60 million for Marcus Rashford. If they come in on the 2nd or the 3rd of January, okay. If they come in on the 29th of January, don't do it. If they come in on the 2nd, okay, but only if we have a replacement already there to go, already there to sign. Because these negotiations, if PSG are interested in Rashford and they do want to sign him in January, they would have been discussing this ages. They would have been discussing this a long time ago with Manchester United. It won't be someone at PSG wakes up on the 18th and says, I want to get Marcus Rashford, let's put in a bid. It won't work like that. Sorry. It is notifications for an upcoming meeting. Are we saying Bournemouth will beat Tottenham tonight? I actually don't know who's at home, but whoever the home team is, I think will have a good chance of winning. I'm never ever going to say let's get Iraola at Manchester United, but I'm a fan of him. He has Bournemouth playing decent football. He's assembled a good squad as well. Justin Kluivert. It almost looked like, obviously he's not as good as his dad. He's not going to be as good as his dad. He's not going to reach those levels, but it did look like he was living in his shadow, almost like, I don't know. I don't even know how to. He just looked terrible. But under Iraola at Bournemouth, he's playing good football now, and I'm a fan of Bournemouth. I like the way they play. But again, Tottenham, you never really know. They could turn up and get slaughtered, or they could turn up and slaughter. Speaking about Tottenham, don't know if any of you guys have seen this, but what do you think? Heung-min Son is out of contract. Yeah, Ronnie said it, commented right at the same time. Heung-min Son is out of contract at Tottenham in the summer. I don't know if he's going to sign a new one. I don't keep up to date with Tottenham in terms of their contracts and whatever. But there's been reports There hasn't been reports that Manchester United are going to sign Son. I'm not saying that, but there have been reports of talks and conversations about his availability. Under AMORIM, is Heung-min Son a player that you would like to see come in at Manchester United? Because he's definitely somebody that could play that that striker role. He's also somebody that could play that in a 10. He's also somebody that could play in the left midfield role, I think, in a slightly more advanced left midfield role, because he's not a defensive player. But is Heung-min Son somebody that you would take at Manchester United in the summer if the opportunity did arise? Have you seen the Son rumours about coming to United on a free? Maybe a couple of years ago, but not now. We do have to take into consideration his age, and probably Son age. He's 32. I thought he was 31. Yeah, we do have to take into consideration his age and the wages that he definitely would be demanding or asking for, you know, given it is a free contract. So if you guys didn't know, whenever there is a player does move on a free, it almost opens the door for incredibly high wages, because the transfer fee that a club would usually pay on a player, some of it can go to extra wages. So I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of an example off the top of my head where a player moved for free and got really high wages. I like Son, but it's like signing Eriksen all over again. Yes and no. I slightly agree with that. I agree with that because, you know, what happened to Eriksen happened to Eriksen. So that definitely would affect, I guess, his legs, his fitness, his general mobility. I don't know what it would affect, but it would take away some of the quality that he does have. With Son, with the science in sport now, first of all, the science in sport now means that a player's peak isn't probably 23 or 24. It might be a few years. It might be a few years later, but it also does mean that in general, a lot of players are able to play for a few more years. I'm not saying that, we signed Son in the summer and he's here until 40, banging 20 goals a season. It means that he's 32 now, but really, he might have the body of a 28 or a 27-year-old. Son is still a fantastic player, and he 100% would improve us. There's no doubt about that. He would come in and almost automatically be our best attacker, I think. I'm sure, well, I know he's better than Rashford, Xerxes, Højlund. I'm not going to say Bruno because they play in different positions, but he would come in and I think he'd be our top scorer. However, with a manager as young as Ruben Amorim, a 39-year-old manager coming in for the long term, hopefully, is signing a 32-year-old something which he wants to do? I don't know. Is it a signing which Manchester United want to make? I also don't know. Is it a signing that would benefit us? I'm sure it would. And is it a signing which I would be relatively excited for? Yes. Some people would think Son, yeah. Some people would think Son, no. Nubis says, I wish United signed Ross Barkley in the summer. He could easily be Mainoo's backup. We desperately need a ball-carrying centre-mid. There is a rumour that Barca might sell De Jong for 16 million. I don't know if that's pounds or euros, but I'm not sure. I know Erik ten Hag isn't here, but that doesn't take away from the quality that Frankie De Jong does have. And isn't he still 25? He is 27. I didn't know he was 27. I thought he was 25. I thought he was the same age as De Ligt. Listen, I still take De Jong. I know that people are probably still a bit salty about what happened with Frankie De Jong, but I'd still definitely take him. He is an immense centre midfielder, a very good ball carrier. And for that cheap, boy, that would be a steal. Think about this. Before I have to end the stream, because I do have to drop off in literally 2 or 3 minutes. You have Lenny Yoro at the back as a right centre back. You have De Ligt as a central centre back, and you have Jared Branthwaite or Lisandro Martinez, for example, in the left centre back position. In the right wing back role, you have Nusayr Mazraoui. In the right centre midfield position, you have Manu Ugarte. In the left centre midfield position, you have Frankie de Jong. In the attacking midfield positions, you have Bruno Fernandes and Amad Diallo behind Victor Gyökeres. In the left midfield position, I don't know just yet. But on paper, I think that's a team that has very good balance. I think that's a team that works. I think... Sorry, not... Amad Diallo in the 10, sorry. You have him at right wing back. You have Kobe Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes in the 10. And then you have Nusayr Mazraoui at left wing back. I think that's a team that could work. It definitely works on paper for me. I don't know. If we're able to get De Jong for 16 million around that in the summer, I will take him to Manchester United myself. I would. Nubis is right. That is a dream team. Keep up the good work, mate. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. United Community Channel. But that, unfortunately, as I wind down, I've seen another comment, so I will read that in a second. But if you guys do want to keep up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news, as well as rumours and updates, make sure you do follow at MUFC MPB over on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with myself. Devastating news, by the way. I don't know what happened to my West Ham FM save, but it is gone. So I am starting a new one with Brighton, and I might stream it. If you want to keep up to date with that, make sure you follow me at Anton Brooks AMB over on X as well. Make sure you do leave a like on this video, and make sure you do hit that subscribe button. I will be back with you tomorrow at 11 a.m. For the final show of the week. I do Monday to Friday. Ronnie says, I do think Garnacho needs to stop being selfish in certain times of the game. It's frustrating, but he's young. I think he'll get better. I know he will get better, and I know it is because he's young. He does have, the impetuousness of youth, where it almost takes over his mind. It's almost like, oh my God, I'm going to score, I'm going to score, I'm going to score, I'm going to score, instead of passing it or squaring it. He will learn. It will get taught into him. He is a selfish player. We just have to hope that he does improve. That's all I can say. But I do have to hop off because I have a meeting now. So I will see you guys tomorrow back at 11 a.m. Hope you guys have a good day. Make sure you hit like and hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow at MUFC MPB over on X, as well as myself, Anton Brooks AMB. And we can carry on this discussion as well. It doesn't have to just be on here. It can be on Twitter too. Remember, his idol is CR7. He wants to follow CR7's path. He's treated Højlund like how CR7 treated Benzema at Madrid. Spot on. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you have